Wow. What up? Welcome to the stream. Can everybody hear me? / see me. Let me make sure I'm in focus here. How's everyone doing this fine afternoon? Well, it's afternoon where I am. It may not be afternoon where you are. But yeah, don't really have anything specific planned for the stream. Just thought I would show up and we can chill for a little bit. Might even be a shorter stream because I do have a few things to do today, but we'll see. I'm doing fine. I just ate an omelet. It was a really big omelet. I'm like really full right now. How many eggs? 3 eggs. Had a bunch of stuff in it. I find that the world is so depressing and I'm only reading fantasy and sci-fi novels to escape. Everything else seems depressing, but I feel guilty. You also need to escape from reality sometimes. Well, from my perspective, reality is not the thing that needs to be escaped from. I think that we confuse what we see on social media with reality, and what we see on social media is, I mean, it is reality adjacent, but it's like a warped version of reality. In my experience, when I'm in the real world off of social media, it's not that bad. But the internet and social media and sensationalist media, they like to highlight all of the most depressing and most negative things, so it can make it seem like reality is really bad, but I don't think that reality is that bad. But I do like to take my mind off things every now and then. I like to play video games. I watch a lot of YouTube. Mukbang stream. I don't know. Would people watch that? With cheese? Yes. I feel like it's not an omelet if it doesn't have cheese on it. Can you do a video where you talk about other YouTubers, streamers you like and want to promote? Maybe that already exists. I've never done like a full dedicated video to that, but I'm occasionally mention streamers and video YouTubers that I like in videos. Maybe I could do a video about that. I don't know if the majority of people are interested in that, but I watch so much stuff. I watch so much YouTube, and I've been watching a lot of Twitch recently too. I'm literally subscribed to like something like 1,000 channels on YouTube. It's pretty crazy. There's COVID. Yeah, COVID is pretty bad. But it's, you know, it's a thing, and there's a lot of things. And if we only focus on the bad things, then I think we're sort of doing a disservice. What kind of music am I into? I don't really keep up with music anymore, but when I did, I you know, there's stuff from pretty much any genre that I like. Probably my favorite is just, I mean, the music that I listened to the most was like early 2000s and late 90s hip hop. That was kind of the music that I listened to the most and know the most about. So whenever I do listen to music, it's usually that. When I'm like driving or something, I like to put it on the classic rock radio station. If there was a late 90s, early 2000s hip hop radio station, I would probably listen to that. I'm sure there is on like satellite radio or something, but I don't have that. And of course, you know, there's like, you can plug your phone into your car or something, but I have an old car, so it's not easy to do that for me. Fairly new to your channel here from Matt Colville. I really respect how you carry yourself and present your arguments. I appreciate that. How did you find me from Matt Colville? Did you like mention me, or? Matt Colville is the shit. Matt Colville is like at least 20 to 30% responsible for me getting into D&D. Do you have a job outside of YouTube? No. Do you think streaming is becoming a new art form? I don't think it's becoming a new art form. I think it is a new art form and always has been. Had the survey 10 out for you. Hopefully you got a bunch of people filling it out. Yeah, I mean, people are still filling it out. I'm probably going to wait a couple weeks and then probably do a stream where I look over the results. But yeah, I mean, I think we're at maybe like 3,000 people have done it, which is more than enough to provide some good data. You look pretty today, and I hope you are well. A question I have. What is your favorite book right now? Well, thank you for the compliment. And I am well. I'm not really reading anything right now. I don't really read as much as I should. Lucia, thank you for the $5 Canadian. Any music from Panama that you know about? Not specifically. My mom plays these songs that I can recognize, but I don't know what they're called or who the artists are. And I think they're all like really old songs that she liked growing up. I don't know any like recent or modern music from Panama. But yeah, I don't read that much. I read like articles and stuff. I don't read books that much. I should probably read books more. I'm probably going to, going back about listening to music in my car, I'm probably going to try to start listening to audiobooks. I don't drive that much, but I'm trying to get more into audiobooks and podcasts. So I probably will like have some podcasts and audiobooks to listen to when I'm like doing chores or when I do drive. Yeah, I know there are cassette to aux converters. I'll just, there's just a lot that goes into it. Like I probably would have to like download some stuff onto my phone because I don't have unlimited data on my phone. So I don't want to be like using all the data listening to stuff, like streaming stuff. Is there something I recommend to watch, like a favorite TV show? Well, I have a lot of favorite TV shows. If you mean something like recent, the most recent TV show that I watched is WandaVision, and I would recommend that. I think it's amazing. As for TV, pretty much, if it's not like Marvel, pretty much the only thing I watch is sitcoms. Longtime fans of this channel will know that I'm like a huge fan of sitcoms. But I'm even a little behind on that. Probably the last sitcom I watched is, I guess, either The Good Place or Schitt's Creek. But there's a bunch of them out that I haven't seen. I've also been catching up on Community because I never watched all of it, so I've been watching that too. What's your skincare routine? Do you think my skin looks good? I think that is the first time that anyone has ever asked me that. By the way, I'm subscribed. I like your hair. Well, thank you. What's up, Alfredo? Do you collaborate with other YouTubers, or do you prefer to be somewhat separate from the rest of the left liberal YouTube? I mean, I'm down to collaborate with certain people, but I mean, collaborations are kind of a two-way thing. You can't just like force people to collaborate with you. For the most part, I think most of the lefty creators are okay. The main problem that I have is their communities. And a lot of times I'd rather not be associated with their communities, but the creators themselves are usually fine. They mostly seem pretty cool. Do you listen to Crash Course? I do. I haven't recently, but I love Crash Course. It's a good way to get, a crash course on a lot of different topics. So I think it's a really good resource if you just want to get like basic information about stuff. And I have utilized it in the past, but I haven't watched recently. Do I watch Abba and Preach? I've seen like a few clips. I need to watch more though. They seem pretty cool. What are some of the people you disagree with yet respect and follow? This question is weird to me because I disagree with everybody. Like I can't, there's like nobody that I know of that I agree with on everything. So most people that I respect and follow count as people I disagree with. Have I watched Crazy Ex-Girlfriend? I've never seen it before. I have a friend who really loves that show that always talks about it, but I haven't seen it. Why do you like sitcoms so much? Well, I really like jokes and I really like comedy just in general. And I really respect the art of writing jokes. It's really like fascinating to me. Because I feel like with drama shows, it's really easy, and not to say that sitcoms are immune from this, but it's like really easy to compel people with drama shows. Just do the basic shit. Do like, you know, fucking somebody dies or somebody betrays somebody, or, you know, there's a love triangle and, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, that can happen in sitcoms as well, but the essence of sitcoms is jokes. And I think that writing jokes is like really hard, and I'm like really impressed when people can do it well. Also, sitcoms are usually very character driven, and I really love good characters, just like really like interesting specific characters. Whereas I feel like drama shows usually they like follow one character, and that character is really good, and then like all the other characters are just kind of whatever. Like they might have a few good scenes or something, but most sitcoms have many characters that interact with each other. And I don't know. I just like characters a lot. Also, another good thing about sitcoms is they're less of a commitment. Like usually they are. Also, most sitcoms you can hop in on any episode and be fine. Some drama shows, if you come in like in the middle of the show, you have absolutely no idea what's going on. Obviously, there are a lot of sitcoms that have long narrative arcs, but you can still enjoy the episode that you watched. You don't have to know what's going on to laugh at a joke, you know? So that's kind of how I feel about that. Didn't I voice a quote in Opulence? I don't think I was in Opulence. I did voice a quote in one of ContraPoint's videos. It wasn't that one though. Any creators community is going to be overrepresented by its most obnoxious, outspoken members. That's true, but it is more prevalent in certain creators communities than others. Like, I don't know if I'm, you know, not to toot my own horn, but I have never heard of my community talking shit to people before. I mean, again, maybe there's definitely like 1 or 2, 3 or 4, but it's just not a thing I've ever heard happen. And same thing for certain other people's communities. You know, part of it is maybe because I'm not that big yet, but I personally, I think that your community reflects the attitude that you put out there. And even if you're a cool person, if you put out, you know, this antagonistic, cynical attitude, then that's what your community is going to be like. You know, another good example is Vlogbrothers. Their community doesn't go around harassing people, talking shit to people, because that's not how they are. But there's a lot of left-wing communities where the creator, they might be a nice person, but all their videos are about fuck this, the world sucks, you know, people suck, people, you know, and that's how the community is going to be. I think that was a repeat of the last, I don't know if Lucio donated again or if it was a repeat. You might want to check that, Lucio, make sure you weren't double charged. Not sure if I agree with that. I feel like most sitcoms have flat characters and very simplistic plots. I would agree that most sitcoms have simplistic plots, but I wouldn't agree that most sitcoms have flat characters. Most sitcoms are all about the characters, and obviously some sitcoms are better than others. So yeah, you can say that there are bad ones that have bad characters that exist, yeah. But good sitcoms are all about the characters. I know I skipped a lot of questions because I spent so much time talking. You can always attempt to ask a question again if you like, but I miss a lot of stuff because it's hard to read and talk at the same time. I'm not good at multitasking. I'm very new viewer to your channel. I was wondering if I were to marathon your videos, would you say you're still generally proud and stand by what you said 3 or 4 years ago? I think that I'm proud of my content, but as like any person, I evolve, and I've evolved from the person that I was 3 or 4 years ago. I think I don't think like my opinions have like super changed. There might be like 1 or 2 things where I would have a different opinion, but the main difference between me now and me 4 years ago is I'm a lot more thoughtful about what I put on my channel and how I say the things that I say. So there might be things that I believe to be true that I don't say on the channel because it could be misconstrued as something that I don't want it to be construed as. And, you know, several years ago, I didn't really care about that. So I would say that's the main difference. But I'm sure, you know, there's definitely things that that I have different views on. But overall, I probably have most of the same views as far as I can tell. And there may be things that I just didn't know that much about back then that I know more about now. Oh, another difference is I try not to speak on behalf of other people now. I used to kind of think that as a person with a platform, it was kind of like part of my responsibility to introduce people to concepts, even if it wasn't something that I have experience in. But I don't really feel that way anymore. So like, for example, I don't talk about LGBT topics that much anymore because I'm not LGBTQ. I feel like it's just not my lane. I think someone else should be talking about that. And you know, there's plenty of creators out there that you can watch if you want to learn about those topics. When you play D&D, did you use modules or is it all original material? For now it's just a combination of modules and homebrew. I usually use modules as a baseline and then just add a whole bunch of homebrew to it. But I would like to try a completely homebrewed game at some point. Letterkenny is one of my favorite shows. Letterkenny's super good. And I think that one, it sort of broke out of the, like that one's popular in America, so it was on my radar. And I think they put it on Hulu, which I think gave it a lot of exposure. I did not watch Lost. Most non-sitcoms I have not seen. I'm trying to think of a show that is not a sitcom that I actually watched, like, recently. And the only one I can think of is WandaVision, which you could argue is a sitcom. What's up, Haitian boy? Do you care about or collect any physical media like Blu-rays or anything like that? Nope. I own like maybe like 4 DVDs total. I used to have a bunch of CDs that I just collected over the years, but I don't even know where they are. And even if I still had them, I don't even know how I would use them. I don't even think my computer has a disk drive. Oh, it does. It does. Never mind. I know my laptop doesn't. Did I hear about Lola Bunny controversy regarding the new Space Jam film? You mean like how they made her less sexualized and people got mad about it? How do I feel about NFTs? I literally just tweeted about NFTs like yesterday. I don't really understand the point or why people would buy them. I mean, more power to everyone. Feel free to spend your money however you want, but it's like you're spending on money but not getting anything in return. Someone on Twitter gave me a good analogy that I thought seemed to fit. It's sort of like buying a star, or like what is it? How does that work? Where you can like adopt a star or some shit like that. And so you can be like, hey, that star up there, that's mine. It's like, well, is it though? I would love to see you like try to claim that ownership in any way. Like, I could see well, the thing is, like, you can buy the rights to digital media. Like, you can already do that. But NFTs don't even give you that. It's not even that. Yeah, name a star. But, you know, whatever. People want to spend their money. I think it's mainly just interested collectors and people jumping on the bandwagon. I just don't really... I might still be missing something. I don't know. Which news channels do you think have the best, most accurate coverage of issues of relevance to people of color, and who gets it wrong most often? I can't think of a news channel that is very specifically good at accurate coverage of people of color. But I always say that this idea of like which news station is the best is like doesn't matter really. Like most of them are fine. The only one that's not fine are the conservative ones. And like there's like ones with like strong left-wing bias that can be pretty weird. But like the major ones that you've heard of are probably fine, like CNN and fucking ABC and The Guardian and all that shit. It gets a little weird when you start going to the more unambiguously biased sources. I think conservative sources are much more shameless in their like distortion of facts and stuff. I think the way that left-wing media is biased, like they generally won't just print something that's just outright false, although they have in the past, but they won't like say something that's outright false, but they will focus their narrative in a way to where they lie by omission. Basically, they will ignore certain aspects, they will ignore certain nuances that don't benefit their narrative. Whereas conservative sources like Fox News or even more far right stuff like fucking I can't even think of what it's called, but stuff like that. They will just straight up print something that's not true. The super far left stuff will do that too, though. But the ones that you've heard, out of the ones that you've heard of, that's been my general assessment. But yeah, you should never only use one news source. You should use multiple sources and compare them to each other. Because one might have certain nuances that are missing, and the other might have other nuances that fill in the gaps on the other one. Things like that. And also, a lot of it is not just bias or like malicious omission. A lot of it is just laziness. A lot of these news articles are they're so pressured to get news out as quickly as possible that they just don't take the time to make sure that the information is as accurate and as nuanced as it needs to be. I don't know much about stars, but what I do know is you are a star. Well, that's sweet. I haven't listened to Code Switch podcast, I don't think. I've heard of it. And this is I think it was Destiny or somebody said this recently, and it's true. If you just read anything, like, you're gonna be way ahead of 90% of people, because most people either just read headlines or they get their news from YouTubers and tweets. So if you actually read the news, you're gonna be way ahead of anybody, even if you just read one source. Focus. I don't know, I slipped out of focus somehow. Do you own a Pro controller for Switch? I just got one, so Considering when to practice on Smash. No, honestly, I want to get a Pro controller for other games, but I use a GameCube controller for Smash. Do you think that people that are Arab, Middle Eastern are ignored or underrepresented as POCs? Probably. In America, at least. Maybe not in other countries. In America, it is very much, most racial conversations very much revolve around white versus black. But it is important to remember that there are other people of color in America. What do you think of some good male role models? I think that your role models should probably be people that you know. You shouldn't look to public figures to be your role models. I mean, you can take like certain aspects of what they do and use that as a guideline, but I don't think you should look to any like public figure to be like, that's the person I'm gonna base my life on, because you never know what they're doing behind the scenes. But there's like certain pick and choose type things. Like I've talked about Dr. K, who runs the channel Healthy Gamer GG. I really like the way that he engages with people, and I've tried to internalize that, but I don't know what the fuck he does when he's not streaming, you know. I really like the Green brothers, Hank and John. They seem like really nice people, and they're like really good at spreading positivity on the internet, and they've been a really big inspiration for me. But again, I don't know what the fuck they do when they're in private. Am I liking Shadowlands? I just started a week ago. I do like it. I haven't played it in a while though. I need to basically me and the people I play with have been waiting for the next raid. It might already be out, I'm not even sure, but you know, we get on, we did all the stuff, we did the raid a bunch of times, and we're just kind of waiting for the new stuff. But I should get back on and check and see what's new. I think they just released like a trailer not too long ago, so I did not see Coming to America 2. People see him as a Twitch streamer, pseudo-therapist. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair criticism, and I'm sure that he's addressed it before. I don't really have any like counter argument to that. I mainly just like the way that he engages with people. Why don't I talk about critical race theory? Well, I feel like many of the subjects that I talk about intersect with that, but I don't even know if I fully understand what critical race theory is, to be honest. Do I watch anime? Not really. My brother is making me watch One Punch Man, so that's kind of the only thing I've been watching, and it's fine. My brother's like obsessed with it. It's like his favorite anime, I think. At what extent a white person is more privileged than a black person? Because I saw a clip where a woman said that the poorest white man wouldn't change place with Chris Rock. Well, I don't know the context of that statement. That doesn't make much sense to me, but the concept of privilege ties into the concept of intersectionality. I think the main thing that people don't understand about privilege is that it's contextual, and you can be privileged in one way but underprivileged in another way. For example, I'm a black person, and there are disadvantages in society that come with being a black person. However, I'm also a man, I'm also straight, I'm also able-bodied, and there are privileges that are associated with all of those things. Like, you can be both. And I don't know why that's hard to understand for people, but it seems pretty straightforward. I have seen some people, like a lot of my family members and stuff, were disappointed with Coming to America too. I haven't seen it, so I'm not sure. What do you think of TikTok? TikTok, it's not one thing. I don't know if it makes sense to say, unless you're talking about like the company behind it or the technology behind it, but in terms of the content, there is so much of a variety of content on there. Like it's like impossible to say you just broadly don't like it, because there's so much stuff on it of all different kinds. So it's like, if you don't like one thing, you can just watch something else that you do like. And in that respects, I think TikTok is fine. You just got to find what you like. And TikTok is actually pretty good at figuring out what you like too. The algorithm is pretty good once you like teach it a little bit. Do you think the term person of color is interchangeable with colored person? Well, no, the way that language works is we ascribe meaning and connotation to language. It is not usually about the specific words you use. It's just society comes together and ascribes meaning to words, and that's just how language works across the board. It's not like super unusual or anything. And we've evolved the language to describe person of color as acceptable and colored person to be unacceptable. Yeah, if the problem is with the technology behind it, then I think that's fine. I don't know that much about that aspect of it. All I'm really familiar with is the content, I guess, which I'm not even that familiar with that. Have ever been called it? Uncle Tom? I'm sure I have. What's your current opinion on Biden's presidency and his shortcomings? I don't know, man. I feel like right now Biden is in just damage control mode, and he's working on fixing all of the things that Trump either broke or left untouched. I think we have yet to see what Biden is really about. The main thing that seems to be a disappointing thing is he seems to be just as gung-ho in terms of war and military force which is not unexpected. However, I don't like to talk about military and foreign policy type stuff because I think it's very complicated, and I think that most people don't know what they're talking about when they talk about this stuff. I don't think that most people actually understand enough about these situations to just broadly say, oh, the president shouldn't do that. But what I do know is that I don't like war, and I don't. If there is ever an alternative to it, then I would probably favor that. But it is conceivable that war is necessary sometimes. I think there's too much content on TikTok to broadly generalize it as trashy. It's like saying content on YouTube is trashy. Well, I mean, maybe some of it is, but there's way too much of it to do that. As a disabled would-be immigrant, I don't feel I'm really white. However, I have light skin. Does that really matter? It's more like people see me as white. An institution to treat me as a minority. I don't know. My view on this, I don't know if this is like a common view or if it's a hot take, but I don't, my general view is you don't really pick what race you are. Your race is determined by how people perceive you. You can choose what to identify with. You can choose what culture you identify with. But at the end of the day, if people treat you like you're white, then you're white as far as I'm concerned. And I think that it's malleable and flexible. For example, if you look white, people might treat you like you're white. However, if you, like, for example, apply for a job and your name doesn't sound white, well, in that instance, when someone sees your name, you get to not be white for a few moments. And you will probably be treated as if you are not white in those situations. But that's kind of how I see it. Thank you for the compliment, Paul. Is devoting attention to intersectionality an attempt to make anti-racism less important, as some say? No, I don't understand the argument behind that. How do you feel about super straight? I haven't seen any in-depth argument about what it means to be super straight. It sounds bad though. Sounds dumb. Thank you for the compliment, Bianca. Couldn't the same be said about gender? I mean, in some respect, but I feel like the historical sort of the historical associations of race are a little I don't know. I kind of base it off how people in society tend to act. So when people see genders, like for example, if you see like a trans woman and you think that they look like a man, I don't think you treat them like a man. Like people don't do that. I don't see that happen. People might be shitty to them because they're trans, but they clearly don't see them as a man or a woman. The people that would be like that. So I don't feel like it reacts the same way. Whereas people have this sort of like instinctual almost reaction to seeing someone that they think is white versus seeing someone that they think is black. I feel like it's different with gender. Now, if you see someone that I feel like gender is a lot more, because like for example, if you're not a transphobe and you see someone and you assume that they're a woman and they correct you and then be like, oh no, actually I'm a man. It seems like it would be fairly easy to like it seemed like it wouldn't change much. I don't know. But I mean, it is an interesting dichotomy. But I mean, and a lot of it is just the way that society interacts with things. It seems like kind of a cop-out answer, but I just think that the social construct of gender, we just interact with it differently than we do with the social construct of race. What are your thoughts on the black tax or racial biases in the workplace? Have you experienced it? How can we actively avoid it in the workplace and be intentional with an equitable approach? Well, I've definitely experienced racial bias in the workplace. How can we avoid it? It's difficult. I mean, I think for one, it just needs to be more at the forefront of the conversation, and people need to be more conscious of things like this. And you know, there's a lot of things. I don't know the number one solution, but I just think we need to try things and see what works. Like We can try things like sensitivity consultations. We can try things like periodical reviews. You know, in many cases, we may need to just completely restructure these organizations and just get rid of people that aren't getting with the program. Like, there's a lot of things that we could try. But, you know, at the end of the day, humans just have to be better. I mean, that's kind of the main thing, because, and I'm not saying like, you know, like, don't be racist. Like, I mean, most people probably aren't overtly racist, but everyone has like biases, and we should all be working on those biases at all times. And some people just don't do it, and we just got to convince people to do it. I think there's more to gender than self-ID. The social nature of the experience of gender is too much. Well, yeah, there's different aspects of gender. But that doesn't mean that they all correlate with each other. Like, and we always think about this in terms of like trans people, but it applies to cis people also. Like, there are some very cis men that like to cross-dress, for example. And we don't have much of an issue with still calling them men. There are cis women who, you know, think of themselves as tomboys and, you know, dress in a way that we typically associate as being masculine, but we don't have any issues with respecting their identity as women. It only becomes a problem whenever we're talking about trans people. Been up to anything fun in your spare time? D&D is kind of the main thing that I do as my, I guess, hobby, and that's super fun. I also been playing a lot of chess and other video games like League of Legends, World of Warcraft, Street Fighter. Do you think it's possible increased internationalism will change views on race, i.e. racial views from Africa or Latin America will influence American perceptions of race? It's possible. Yeah, I think that's very possible. Yeah, I mean, for sure, because if you go to different countries, the way they think about race is different in different countries, for sure. Like, I've discussed with several international people from non-American people, even about what we consider like white. For example, like in America, if you're from Europe, you're white. Even if your skin's dark. Like if you're Turkish, if you're Greek or Italian, you're white. In other countries, that may not be the case. In fact, I think in some countries it isn't the case. So if we interact more with other countries, those perceptions could change. One tough contradiction is that black people are American, yet there is fear among some of my black acquaintances that more African immigrants, people not brought in slave ships, will devalue their claim to America. I don't agree with that. I had to have to hear the full argument for that. So black people can lose their blackness if their race is not recognized. Yeah. There's like no purpose to race. It's not a useful categorization. It seems to only be used in a negative way. Now, obviously, racial categories, people who have been grouped together in these racial categories have come together to show pride in themselves as a counter to all of the negativity and oppression they face. But if there was no negativity and oppression, there would be no reason to have pride in how much melanin is in your skin. You should organize a chess tournament around your community. I mean, that'd be cool. I just don't know how many people in my community actually are interested in chess. Maybe I'll do a poll. Do I like a British accent? I like all accents. What do you there is no correlation. What do you think about inflation here in Argentina? The official version of the government is that there's no correlation with printing money and inflation. I don't know. I don't think that's how it works. I don't think inflation is like something that we make up. It's just something that happens naturally when the supply of money increases. Why do you use the XLR extender on your mic? It's not an extender. It's a basically it's a preamp. This mic, the Shure SM7B, is known for being very quiet, so you have to hook it up to a preamp to add some decibels to it. Because if you just turn up the gain, you'll get a lot of noise in the background. So in order to get volume without getting a lot of noise, you have to add more preamp power, and this is what this is. I kind of disagree in your statement that race is only based on how people treat you. If someone is Latinx, Indigenous, Middle Eastern, but white passing, they have the right to be seen as POCs. It depends. If you live your life and you never experience any disadvantages whatsoever because you look white, then I don't understand how you're a person of color. Like, I don't understand how. I mean, sure, if you want to join the club, have fun, but I don't understand, like, literally, practically how you can claim to share an experience with these people if you've never experienced the disadvantages that they have. But like I said, I think it's contextual. If you know, most of the time you might be white passing, but there might be certain times, like if you're white passing. But I always like to use the job interview or the job application analogy, because in that case they only see your name. So if you look white but you know your name is like Pablo Juarez, they might be like, okay, I don't know about this Hispanic person. By the way, I didn't say that people don't have the right to identify as POC or whatever. Like, you can do whatever you want. I just think that practically how you are perceived is the thing that actually matters. I know that everyone wants to be a part of the club, but in real life, the thing that matters is how you are perceived and how you're treated. Am I really a janitor? No. What are your tips on feeling more confident? How do you make yourself feel better on your bad days? This is a hard question because I think it comes more naturally to me than other people. And if it doesn't, like, people who have sort of low self-esteem, it's hard to like rationally convince them to have self-esteem. You pretty much just have to do it, even if you don't believe it. It's almost like a fake it until you make it thing. If you just act like pretend you're playing a role, act like the way that a confident person would act, and over time you'll start believing it. It's true. But I never really had, well, maybe when I was younger, but as an adult, I never really had self-esteem issues. I've been pretty good about that. So it's hard for me to communicate with people on how to do it because it was more natural for me. Pablo is a Spanish name, hence a white name. Well, again, it's about perceptions. White people in America, if they see the name Pablo, they're probably not going to think white. So you can talk about, semantics and, technically, but what matters is how people actually perceive you. What's the history behind my name? Go to my channel and look up a video called "Why Am I Called the One Janitor?" I explain it all there. Do I ever question what I do, thinking my family would be ashamed of it? What I do? What you do? What do you mean what I do? Like on my videos? No. I don't think I do anything that my family would be ashamed of. I don't think people should force themselves to have good self-esteem. It's not about what people should or shouldn't do. You can do whatever you want. But a lot of people want to have good self-esteem. And I think it's fine. I think it feels better to have good self-esteem than to not have good self-esteem. I've experienced both, and good self-esteem is better. Figured out the new hotness in bot, Tal and Pam. If you say so. I mean, I think it's really easy to get people with these like cheesy comps because they just have no idea how to deal with them. What's up, by the way, Josh? I've never played any Fallout games. I've never played a single Fallout game. How do you feel about LGBT members saying that cis asexual people shouldn't be included in the community? I don't know. I'm not LGBT or ace, so I don't really have enough experience to really make a informed comment, really. I can understand arguments for that, but again, I don't have the experience to really know. All in level 2, Panth jumps, and then Talon gets his combo out. Yeah, I guess the thing is, how are you ever going to get level 2 first? If the players are doing anything, they're playing correctly. But yeah, if you get level 2 for sure, maybe even level 1, maybe not level 1, but. But doesn't Talon need to be level 3 to do his combo? I saw a few people complaining that during Black History Month, no one was ever celebrating Black conservatives like Clarence Thomas. Well, I don't know if that's true. I think Clarence Thomas just wasn't that cool. Or is he still alive? He's still alive, right? Yeah. Clarence Thomas just isn't that cool. So I don't think they, but there's other, like, like, I don't know, like, I want to say, there's people like, I think maybe like Booker T. Washington or something could have been considered a Black conservative. And there's other people that are celebrated, I think. I'm trying to, I can't really think right now, but. Do I think there are any games that dealt with social political issues well? I'm sure there are. I can't even think of any though. But there's probably like a bunch of indie games that do that. The Metal Gear Solid series is a pretty solid anti-war series. But that's pretty specific. How do I feel about the tweet Burger King made on Women's Day? Definitely a foot and mouth moment. Pretty hardcore self-own. Yeah, a bunch of people are asking me about Super Straight. I don't know exactly what it is. It sounds dumb though. He only needs Q and W. Oh yeah, that. What am I talking about? The E is the jump move. He doesn't need that. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking that Clarence Thomas was dead. I'm tripping. I'm tripping. What do I agree on the right on? I don't know. It depends on what you consider right wing. I generally don't identify with right wing stuff in any way, but some people think that like being a capitalist is right wing. So What do you think about Gina Carano getting fired from The Mandalorian? From what I understand of that, she got fired because she broke her contract. And that seems to be well within their rights. I mean, it's well within their rights regardless, but I think it's well known at this point that Disney and people who work for Disney are sort of expected to like represent Disney and represent a certain type of public behavior when you work for Disney. And she wasn't doing that. And from what I understand, she got multiple warnings too. And she just kept fucking posting weird shit. So it seems pretty straightforward. Do I have any gaming content? I play games on this stream every now and then. And I have a gaming channel that has been defunct for like 2 years. But yeah. It seems that my audience is not super interested in gaming because every time I do game, it's nobody really watches. But I do every now and then play games on this stream. Have you ever thought about doing collabs? Yeah, I'm down to do collabs. But it takes 2 people to do a collab, so you just have to see when other people want to do it. I think that we used to, back in the day, we used to talk about Ben Carson in Black History Month. Until we got older and realized that he was a bit of a doof. What beliefs did I grow up having? Would I consider myself a spiritual person? If so, how? I would not consider myself a spiritual person at all. I'm like the opposite of a spiritual person. But growing up, I was raised Christian, and I was pretty Christian. I would say I was a pretty intense Christian. I also sort of I became basically like a apologist for Christianity, so I was like really interested in like argument, because I've always like been into like reasonable, rational arguments and things like that. So I was like, well, if this Christianity thing is legit, then I should be able to, talk about it in a reasonable way. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why I stopped being a Christian, because it became clear to me that I could not talk about it in a reasonable way. It like heavily relies on faith and sort of believing things even if you don't have evidence of them, and that's just never good enough for me. What's the difference between a woman making money with an OnlyFans and a guy selling smut art like furry art? Are you implying that one of those things is okay and one of those things is not okay? I've been watching old Jake and Amir videos, and you got the top comment on like half of them. Yeah, Jake and Amir is one of my very favorite things on the internet. I love it. It's like so funny. Best song ever? I mean, the best song ever is probably Bohemian Rhapsody, just like objectively. But that's also a song that I have heard way too many times in my life, and I would probably be okay if I never heard it again. But I mean, you just gotta admit that it's just a genius fucking song. Any tips on becoming more eloquent? Read books and speak with, like, have conversations with smart people, hang around smart people. A good little adage that I heard back in the day is, if you are the smartest person in the room, you should find a different room. Always try to find people that challenge you and force you to think critically and force you to improve your vocabulary to express the ideas that you have. And I don't even think I'm the most eloquent person there is, or even like close, but what would be a good reason for you to live abroad for a few years? I mean, I'd like to live abroad permanently. Do you like Hassan Abi? I think Hassan is entertaining for sure. And he's like good at what he does. But I do think that he's an example of a person who's like spreading this like toxic leftism that's like really rampant on the internet right now. Just a bunch of like angry, cynical, condescending leftists on the internet right now. I think he's a large part of causing that to happen, which is kind of disappointing. Do you think not caring about race is a good step towards ending racism? I mean, I don't know, because I feel like not discussing something, not thinking about something never causes that thing to go away. If it's a really pernicious problem, like you have to fight it head on. Have ever read Marx or considered Marxism? I guess not super in depth, but I mean, I'm familiar with Marxism, and I've heard a lot of them, you know, the major bullet points. Which country would I choose to live abroad? I don't know for sure. I mean, the top choices really seem to be the Scandinavian countries, one of those, like Norway or Sweden or Denmark. Problem is, I would love to live somewhere with like really nice weather. New Zealand, maybe. But from what I understand, it's really hard to immigrate to those countries. They're not super looking for new folks. Tips if you want to become a YouTube. Probably that means YouTuber. So the first question I always ask is, do you have any experience in performing or filmmaking or videography or editing or anything like that? If you have experience or expertise in those areas, then you've got a pretty big leg up, because you kind of already know how to do something well. If you don't, though, I think you should just make stuff constantly and learn how to get good at it, basically. Like, I mean, like at least 100 videos. Like, you should make at least 100 videos before you even think about anything else, if you're just starting from scratch. If you already like know how to make videos or know how to be entertaining or know how to be funny, you can really just like learn, you know, the basic idea of how to make a YouTube video, and from there, instead of just like spamming out videos, you can really like put effort into like making them as good as possible. And then you can also put effort into thinking about how to get people to click on them, because as much as people don't want to say, as much as people don't want to admit it, YouTube is all about clickbait. That's all YouTube is. It's clickbait. Well, it's not fair to say that's all it is, but that's the name of the game. Obviously you still have to get good content, because if you get people to click and the video is trash, they're gonna stop watching 100%. So you still have to have good content, but success on YouTube, even moderate success, is all about getting people to click. So that's having interesting thumbnails and interesting titles. That's like the two most important things. Literally the two most important things on YouTube is titles and thumbnails, and then content. Like literally. The content matters. I don't want to come off as saying that the content doesn't matter, but titles and thumbnails. But if you're just starting out, you do not need to worry about that. If you're just starting out, you need to focus on your content first, because even if you get people to click, if your content sucks, it doesn't matter. And there's like so many people where people are like, man, I've been making videos and I don't have any viewers and I'm not sure what's going on. And then I go look at their channel, and they'll have like 10 videos. Like, first of all, make more videos. You don't have enough videos to even worry about this. Or B, the videos are trash. It's like, these videos aren't that good. Either you didn't put enough effort into them, or you're just not that good at making videos yet. And it's fine. Nobody is good when they first start. And on the flip side, there's people on YouTube that's like, man, I think my videos are good and I'm making videos for years, but I'm just not getting any traction. And it's like, okay, first of all, are your videos actually good? Like, you might think they're good, but maybe they can be better. Maybe you can just put a little more effort into them. You know, make the editing a little more interesting, add more jokes to them, you know, things like that. First think about that, and then okay, you say, okay, I've got good videos. Well, I'm sorry, but maybe you need to clickbait a little harder. I'm sorry, but that's how YouTube works. If you're not willing to play the YouTube game, then you should not be upset if it doesn't work. So make your titles a little more, add some mystery to the title. And like, you don't have to do like super annoying clickbait. You don't have to be like fucking, you know, like, I can't even think of like, you know, like fucking sexual content, exclamation point, not clickbait, in fucking parentheses, pictures of titties on the thumbnail. You don't have to do all that. But you just have to add a little bit of mystery or intrigue to the title, or the thumbnail. You have to be like, would you click on it? Like, it has to be like, people, you have to make people feel like they have to click on it to figure out what's going on. And yeah, that's how you do YouTube. Like, for example, a good example for me, like, I don't know, I have honestly I could do more probably to think about my like thumbnails and stuff, but really the way my thumbnails work is I look at the two most famous people that I mentioned in my video and I just put their faces in the thumbnail. People like to click on famous people because they want to know what, for some people are obsessed with famous people. So people want to know, and especially if there's a story being told between the title and the thumbnail. For example, I have a video you probably know about called Cultural Appropriation Revisited, and the thumbnail is a picture of Miley Cyrus. And it helps that Miley Cyrus is making like a really stupid face in the thumbnail because it kind of tells a story. And so people are like, okay, this video seems to be about cultural appropriation. And then there's a picture of Miley Cyrus there. I need to know what he's going to say about Miley Cyrus. And that video has like 400,000 views. So I feel like it did okay. Is it transphobic for a straight person to not want to date a trans person? If the reason that you don't want to date them is because they are trans, then probably. If that is the sole reason, I don't see what else you would call it. Like if you just simply replace the terms, is it racist for a white person to not want to date a black person? Well, if the only reason is because they're black, then yeah, probably. True that and get your demographic. I did a meme and posted on Facebook. 1 year later, posting a Latino subreddit, instant 3K upload. I think that videos sometimes have a time and place, and videos sometimes work in one context and not in another. Like I've had videos that didn't get that many views on YouTube, but got a bunch of views on Facebook. And a lot of times when I look at my highest performing videos, a lot of times you can tell, oh, that's just a really great title and a really great thumbnail. Or like another one of my most popular videos is a video called Straight Dude Logic. And I uploaded that video. I think it's a pretty good video, but I uploaded the video with a different thumbnail than what it has right now, and it wasn't doing too well. Then I changed the thumbnail to a picture of Jim from The Office, and as soon as I did that, it started getting views. And I think it's just because of the mystery. People are like, what does he say about Jim in this video? Do you think that privileged people being complacent about marginalized groups is problematic? Like, does white people ignoring race make them complicit in racism? It kind of depends on how that works. How that works in practice. In general, I don't think it like makes them complicit, but it definitely makes it harder for us to fight against racism. White people should be leading the fight against racism. That would be the most efficient way to get rid of racism, is for white people to lead the charge against it. But that's just unrealistic for us to expect that to happen. So we just kind of have to do it ourselves and hope that we can convince as many of them to jump on the train as possible. Do I ever get recognized in public because of YouTube? Yeah, every now and then. Not a whole lot. The cultural appropriation video was the first I watched, but I didn't even notice Miley Cyrus in the thumbnail. Oh, there you go. Interesting. But yeah, in general, if you're just starting out, you shouldn't even be worrying that much about thumbnails and titles. Just make a bunch of videos. Get into the habit and process of making videos and get good at making videos. Do you think bad people exist? Do your views on free will versus determinism inform this? I mean, I kind of hate the free will versus determinism argument. I think it is pointless, because even if we don't have free will, we act like we do, and we should act like we do. So it's like, I just feel like it doesn't matter. I think there are people that we can describe as bad people. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Hitler, that was probably a bad person. You know, Jeffrey Dahmer, probably a bad person. But I think that people are complex and people are still humans, and it is worth it to try and determine what causes people to behave in certain ways. And sometimes I think that most people aren't bad people. I'll put it that way. But surely bad people exist. But I think most people aren't bad people. I think most people do shitty stuff all the time. But I don't think that's a good definition of a bad person, because people are complex and the human brain is not always the most rational. We still are very driven by emotions, and we're really good at justifying things to ourselves. And we have very easily exploited cognitive biases. That's just kind of part of being human. But I don't think people are bad generally. They're just complex. What do you think of grade abolition? I've been looking into it. It sounds cool. It's an interesting idea. I don't really know all of the details. I probably would need to hear more about it, but I'm always interested in ways to reform the academic system, because in general, I feel like it's not very good in America, at least. Do I play video games? And if I do, what is my favorite? The main things that I'm playing these days is WoW and Street Fighter and League of Legends. My favorite game of all time is Metal Gear Solid 3. I haven't played a lot of Smash Brothers, but I'm kind of like known amongst my friends as being like a Smash Bros guy, because I play a shit ton of Smash, and I used to play it like competitively and stuff, and I'm above average at it. I won't say that I'm like really good at it, because there's a lot of really, really good players, but I'm above average. Oh yeah, the background music, a few people have commented on it. It's done by my brother, John Ivory. He has a SoundCloud that's in the description of the video, but most of his work is done offline. He does a lot of music production, and he I don't know if he still does, but he used to run like a home studio with local artists here in Birmingham, Alabama. And he's really good at what he does. As far as I'm concerned, he should be like a superstar, because he's like just as good as any professional hip hop producer, as far as I can tell. To paraphrase one of your videos, it makes more sense to use bad as an adjective, not a noun. Yeah, I think in most cases that's right. Do you think Master Chief will ever get added to Smash Bros? At this point, it seems possible. If you would have asked me that like 10 years ago, I'd have been like, hell no, man, come on. Come on, relax. But at this point, it seems like anything goes at this point. Like, like, I don't even know, man. And it does seem like they're trying to like get all of like the major like video game mascots in there. I don't know, but there's only like a limited number of slots left. Like, I'm surprised that Crash Bandicoot isn't there. That seemed like it would have been a good fit. And there's like fucking 19 Fire Emblem characters, which is a bit weird to me, but I think that part of that is just because they want to market the games that have come out recently. But I mean, if fucking Minecraft Steve can be in the game, then why can't Master Chief? I was also thinking they might add one of the protagonists from the Assassin's Creed games. That would be pretty cool. I don't know if those games are still on people's radars. Kratos from God of War. Like, there's a lot of candidates. What is the best or most effective way of dating, in your opinion? I don't really think there's one answer to that. I think there are different dynamics between different groups of people, and you just got to figure out what works for you. Do I play Dungeons and Dragons? Yes, I do. If so, what is my campaign like? Well, I'm actually the dungeon master of my campaign, and it is a pretty, like, we're all basically new to D&D. Well, you know, we've been playing for maybe like 2 years now. So this is like most of our first campaigns. And so I wanted to make it just as D&D as possible. Super high fantasy, swords and sorcery, dragons and giants and beholders, and just, I wanted it to be as D&D as possible. So that's kind of how it is. It is super, super high fantasy, fucking dwarves and dark elves and shit like that. Soul Calibur already had Ezio. Yeah, I forgot about that, but I disagree that it's transphobic for straights to not want to date trans people, as no one can help who they are attracted to, and while trans women are mentally women, they start out with a male body. Just because something is involuntary does not mean that it is not problematic. And it also doesn't mean that it is not irreversible, or it doesn't mean that it is irreversible. So, for example, if you're walking down the street and you see a black dude minding his business, you might very, very unconsciously just start to fear them or think that they might hurt you, even though you have no evidence that happening. I think it's very common for that to happen, and you can't help it. But that doesn't mean it's not a problem that you feel that way. It also doesn't mean that you can't reverse the fact that you have these problematic inclinations. And also, all trans people are not the same. So if you just assume that every trans person you ever meet in your whole life is someone you want to date, that's not a rational assumption, because trans people are as varied as anyone else. I hope they add Phoenix Wright to Smash Brothers. That'd be interesting. Phoenix Wright in Marvel vs. Capcom was pretty cool. He's actually like kind of a Smash Bros. Type character in Marvel vs. Capcom. But I think we are going to wind down the stream here. We've hit the 2-hour mark, and I do have a few things to do a little later on. If there are any final comments and questions, we can get those out of the way. But for those that don't know, I try to stream every Monday and Friday. I know it's called Live Stream Sunday, but that's a joke. It's most Mondays and Fridays, or at least that's what I'm aiming for. The easiest way is just to click the notification bell, and then you'll just be notified whenever I'm live. My favorite video game of all time is Metal Gear Solid 3. I think people are too rigid in their opinions and stuff. I think once you like, I don't know, I don't want to like, I try not to call people out, but when people talk about all this, like, I can't help what I like. It's like, that's not how people work. People change all the time. The stuff that you like, the stuff that you're into, the stuff that you are attracted to constantly changes all the time. So whenever someone is like, oh, I can't help what I like, it's very suspicious to me. Seems like, well, you're not trying. You don't want to. And I'm not saying you have to want to, but I just think as people, you just need to be open to at least thinking about things and thinking about why you feel a certain way. Like when I was younger, for example, I thought tattoos looked like pretty trashy, or they just weren't that attractive to me. I was like, oh, I'm not really into that. But over time, I started hanging out with more people that had tattoos, and now I'm like obsessed with tattoos. I think tattoos are super sexy. People change. Really, all I can say is just think about why you feel the way you do about things. And if you come to a conclusion that you're okay with how you feel and it's not based on any sort of problematic mindset, then, just keep living your life. But when it comes to trans people, this happens with trans people all the time. people always like want to change the rules when it comes to trans people. People always want to do what ifs when it comes to trans people. Like, what about, well, I don't, you know, like trans people are just people. It's the same as anything else. And I think the reason is because people are uncomfortable with trans people. But if you just get to a point where you just recognize that trans people are just people, you apply the same rationale to them as you would as anyone else. The rate at which you will be attracted to trans people is probably the same as the rate at which you will be attracted to anyone else. So if you assume that you're just unattracted to trans people across the board, that's probably not true. And you should probably think about why you think that's true. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. Check out the description of this video for all of my social media links and things like that. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, things of that nature, Instagram. I do want to give a shout out to the Discord. If you are a Discord user or if you're interested in checking out Discord, consider joining the T1J Discord community. Just go to theonejanitor.com/Discord. It's a super positive, super chill community, and we are very close to 1,000 members. And there's lots of different channels of lots of different topics. You can choose what you're interested in. We've got art, TV, politics, food, pets. There's all kinds of stuff there. So yeah, join the community. But beyond that, just check out all my other links. And I will have a new video next week, so keep an eye out for that. Turn that notification bell on if you want to make sure you are notified about that. The Discord is very cool. Like I was saying last stream, we've been complimented by people who visit other larger Discords who have complimented me about how chill and positive our Discord is. But yeah, check that out. I'm just trying to grow the Discord, so I want to plug that as much as possible. But beyond that, I will probably stream again on Monday. That's the goal. If I don't see you on Monday, look out for the new video probably next Friday. And I think that is it. So I will see y'all next time. Bye.